Hi, my name is Erica Chauvet, and I want to show you this question, which is a Check Your Understanding question from the Practice of Statistics 7th edition. And this is going to be one of the questions that's in the Achieve platform, the online homework system. And we are coding these questions so that they have very helpful guided feedback for the students, so that if the student is unsure about how to approach a question, they can get very solid hints and very solid feedback as they work their way through a problem. Whenever a student opens up a question, they have the opportunity to see a hint by clicking on this, and the hint for this particular question goes into some detail to help them through these 3 parts of this Check Your Understanding question. Now this is on estimating the percent of people that spend at least $2,000 on an engagement ring, describing the shape of this distribution, and finally estimating, again, the center and variability, which is a tough thing for students to do. And so we used a numeric entry module here for the percent of people that have spent at least $2,000, which means this is open-ended. If they click in here, they don't have any assistance. And so they can read over here, and they often are concerned about estimating because, it's not a multiple choice question. And so we give them a note so that they know that all reasonable estimates will be scored as correct because there is a tolerance for this. And so we also give them some hint, rather than estimating the heights, because this is a number of people here, for all of these bars that are at least $2,000, which there's a lot of them, and adding up all of these and dividing by 1640, it might be simpler to focus on those that spend less than $2,000. So we give them that hint just to help them through. Now, let's suppose that they are not sure and they're like, oh, I don't know, this looks like it's a lot of the graph. Maybe it looks like 80% to them. So we'll put in some answers here. I'm describing the shape. Let's see, suppose they get the context right, cost of engagement ring. Maybe they'll think it's 2 clear peaks because of this extra little at the end here. And it's skewed right, but let's say they suppose skewed left. Number 3, estimate the center and variability. So we're the median. Now the median, they do have choices here, and they have to guess just by gauging the heights of the bars, which of these intervals contains the median. They can look at a little hint also to help them along this path. And since we have 640 values, the median is the average of the 820th and 821st. However, they still have to gauge the height of the bars in order to figure out approximately where is this 820th and 821st value in this group. And so let's suppose that they say 2,000 to 24.99. And the costs vary from as low as, here's our options, let's say 0 to as much as, okay, so 260, and that's actually about the height of the tallest bar. This is the right answer right there. And 16, that's just the last tick mark. So let's suppose that they get that as that. So let's check and see how we did. And this is going to give them feedback in order. So the first thing they're getting feedback on is question number 1. Your estimate is too high. So let's help them estimate. So we give them how many people are in each of the first 4 bars, because maybe they are just estimating kind of poorly, and that there's a total of 1640 adults accounted for in the histogram. And just asking them some probing questions and reminding them to calculate a percentage. So let's suppose that they do fairly well this time around, but maybe they enter 0.48. So they can check. And, okay, so they did kind of well, except they forgot to convert to a percentage. So we try to put errors in case they put a decimal versus a percent. And then when they get a question right, it will stop boxing it in red, and it'll move on to guiding them for question number 2. And so a student could change multiple options as they go through, or they can change one at a time. So they can read the feedback that we give them and correct one item at a time so that they are learning as they go why their answers are incorrect. Or they could just change them, but if they get it right the second time around, they won't get feedback. So if a teacher gives the student the opportunity to have as many redos, they might want to advise their kids to just correct one thing at a time so that they can learn as they go. It will knock down their score if they use this for the point values. They get a very small deduction every time that they check again. And so they might advise their students that they would allow them to have redos or such in order to get the most benefit out of this. And so they continue to go through and they correct and check. So here we're guiding them about how to estimate where the median will be by estimating the height of the first several bars. Continue adding until you find the bar that contains the median. And we're also reminding them that the width of the bars are $500 because these are in increments. The units are in thousands, so they're in increments of 500. And so they estimate maybe correctly this time, and it just moves them on. This tells them, oh no, you've selected the height of the tallest bar. So rather than knowing that the costs of the rings vary from $0 to as much as about $15.50, and by the time they get to the end, they can see the full solution and all of the details behind it. They can see the actual percentage and see how close they were in their estimation. So this is an example of what we're doing as we're coding through the Practice of Statistics 7th edition.